Hi everyone, we'll get started with our presentation. I am Pushkar and I'm accompanied by Yash and Santanu, my teammates. We are going to present our solution of dynamic surveys. So the motivation for this solution is to democratize the knowledge life cycle. And we have broken down steps of a generic knowledge preservation system into three steps. First is creation of knowledge out of uh, observations. Second is to distill that created knowledge into summaries and digestible format. Next is to distribute that knowledge across people who want to consume it. The immediate scope is just to gather that information first. And let's say you are a head of water management supply in Bangalore, right? And you want some answers. Are we meeting our demand? What are some inefficiencies in our processes, right? You won't find these answers on Google, but with our tool you can just articulate what you need and send out the survey and ask people what are some issues they're facing, and even get creative feedback on it, how they can solve that particular problem with some innovations. So this is the part where we show the demo. The first part is showing the experience for the survey creator. Okay, so we'll go describe this a single question for the purpose of the demo. Uh, Question is, how do you think technological advancements could be leveraged to mitigate water scarcity in Bangalore? So for each question, we have two associated fields for it. First is how many follow-up questions do you want the bot to ask? Like what is the upper cap or the number of questions you want the bot to ask? Next is a set of objectives or the motivation which the survey wants to achieve through this question. For example, the first motivation here is to get perceptions and technology's role and possible innovative solutions and opportunities and ways to integrate those so that water management could be improved. And second is to get a concrete solution from the user if possible. Okay. This is the experience for the person who is interacting with the bot, interacting with the survey, and in till now we have the user has interacted with certain questions already and was able to give some feedback, and now the question which we discussed, right, that is going to be slid into the conversation and get the intent of the survey filler. We can see that in the conversation, the question has slid in. How do you think technological advancements could be leveraged to mitigate water scarcity in Bangalore? The survey forecasters, the survey filler starts to uh, give his response. So seems like in this case, the filler has a lot of ideas on what could be some creative ways to improve the situation. First is to create a water demand supply forecasting model for buildings, and possibly make a leakage detection mechanism which can solve for inefficiencies in the processes. Yeah, so this answer was sent by the user, but this is the part where the bot is able to see that user is interacting with the question, and the user might have uh, more possible points to give, and the solution the user gave was not very elaborate, right? Which is why the bot is saying that's an interesting question. Could you elaborate on how the water demand supply forecasting model and the water leakage detection mechanism would work in practice? Specific in the way that I didn't give any answer, give it more detail. So in the sub model implement, which is like what is the. Okay, so now the user's response was the supply demand model will give a prediction on water usage on the basis of previous consumption and the number of people in the building. Further, the leakage detection model can be implemented using pressure sensors and anomaly detection. Uh, Now, since the bot has received that answer and it is matching with the some original goals of the original question, the bot is asking further questions around the same flow, like what are some top priorities for the government authorities according to you, and how will they contribute in solving the primary issue of water scarcity? The Okay, so um, okay, as you saw in the demo, we were able to have an engaging interaction with the user. We were able to detect like when the user is giving some response and where does the user require any particular nudge. And we were able to create a survey, we were able to create a friendly experience for the survey creator where they didn't have to give a like 10 or 20 questions, right? They can just have a single question which combines the entire theme and add multiple objectives around that question. And within the conversation, the bot was able to detect in real time what was the response from the user. Was it vague enough? Do we need to nudge the user? And within that process, we were able to create conversation nudges and narrow down the conversation to get really insightful answers from the user. Now, Yash will take over. Okay, so okay. So comparing with traditional surveys can be rigid. They are generally very non-interactive, and the insights we get from those are superficial, in the sense that you will only get answers which you already had in your mind, right? But with dynamic surveys, you will be able to have a more interactive experience for the survey filler. You will be able to be thorough, and you will get more deeper insights. That being said, certain MCQ and hard limited questions are necessary, but our tool is supposed to be an extension to those and explore uh, what is the room for getting deeper insights when you are engaging with people at such a large scale. And so the potential for a use case is huge. We saw the example of civic engagement in the water supply management board, right? And other use cases could be just sending out a survey based on healthcare accessibility and education equity, like how accessible is healthcare in your area? Is it accessible in a physical manner and or even in a financial manner, right? And another use case here is market research, which I guess would be something of interest to a lot of people in the room. Let's say you are a fintech entrepreneur and you want to see what are some frictions for someone onboarding through a KYC process, right? You can just send out the survey and list down your motivations, and the bot will just get those insights through the conversation from the user and those pain points. Okay, now Yash will take over with the technical presentation.
Okay, so how does our solution work at a high level? A survey creator can use the UI to fill in the details about the question, and they are simply persisted in the database. For the survey filling process, we have two modes in our app, survey mode and engagement mode. In survey mode, we are simply presenting the user with the fixed questions. Whenever it is detected that there is scope for deeper interaction or flexible engagement or more clarifications, engagement mode is triggered. So a survey filler would use the UI to fill the survey, and at first we start off in survey mode. They would get the first question configured by the survey creator. Then we detect whether the number of follow-up questions to be generated that has exceeded the limit. If it has exceeded, then we go to the next fixed question. Otherwise, we start with engagement mode, where the objective mate agent will detect which objectives are not met. If all the objectives are met, next question. Next question. Otherwise, the question generation agent would generate a follow-up question based on the conversation context. And the follow-up question, when the participant, the filler answers it, it again goes back into this loop. So we used Streamlit for front end. Main backend service was in Fast API. Database we were using was MongoDB. For using the LLMs in the agent, we had two integrations. One is using VLLM, using which you can host any open source model just by mentioning its Hugging Face model name. The primary model that we tested our application for was a instruction-tuned Gemma 7 billion parameter model. The second integration was for subscription-based LLM APIs like ChatGPT or Gemini. Some challenges we faced and what we learned from it. So we started off with using Phi2 and other fine-tuned variants, but it had this issue of generating gibberish after the output. So we moved to Gemma, and it gave better results. for that, we tried different options for different prompts. For that, we needed a test set. Mixed we used Mixtral to generate some sample conversations and annotated it ourselves to create a test set for the agents. Uh, the inference speed for the LLM model that we were using was also slow, and we realized that using VLLMs with some quantization that has some benefits, and we were able to decrease the latency for the hosted model from 50 seconds to 3 seconds, the end-to-end latency for generating the follow-up. What future vision we have for this project is, our initial vision for knowledge preservation was that given very limited context about a topic, can an LLM create a plan and gather information by interviewing people? Dynamic survey was a subpart of this problem, and we want to extend it to the original vision. We have some other future visions, like we want to support the close-ended questions, multilingual support, voice support, and even personalize the follow-up questions a bit more. So that's it for the presentation. We are open to any questions.
In that, could you explain how is that mode change detected from that survey mode to engagement mode?
Yeah, so we have a couple of checks. There were some objectives for each question that the survey creator provided, right? Pushkar showed it in the demo. We have an agent which takes those objectives and it figures out whether those objectives are met or not. This objective met agent. This basically engages the engagement mode. We have some simple checks, like we should not keep prompting the user, right? So some maximum follow-up questions that we can generate.
So it's based on like the type of engagement, or just the number of follow-up questions?
It's on type.
Just adding to Yash's response. So basically, it's a combination of both. And in the second step of this engagement mode, right, we basically have a single prompt for the agent where we have certain cues like engagement and friendliness, and we add the context of the current question and the answers, and we add what are the certain motivations and objectives which the original survey had. So what the bot does is it compares the current conversation with the objective and its question, and then we try to see if all of those objectives are fully met or not. And if there is something which is partially met, we try to, like we saw in the example of technology advancements, right? We saw that the user was giving answers on the motivation of leakage detection, but the user was vague. How do you detect that? How do you make that work on a ground level? So that part is where the second objective was, does the user have a concrete solution? That objective comes into play, and we are able to nudge the user to give a more solid solution if the user has one, right?
One thing on, you said you have trained it on some samples, right?
It's not training. We have figured out which prompt works the best by generating some conversation data by a larger model, and we annotated it ourselves, like what is the expected output, and then we tried different prompts. We saw their accuracy, and then we chose one prompt.
Yeah. So there, in the annotation also, like how would you tell this is a good one? Like what is the metric there?
Yeah, so for the objective met agent, it's simple, right? It's like a true false kind of scenario. Has the objective been met or not? Like for the decision.
That is like based on the interpretation of the text, right? Like you, as a human being, you are evaluating. Okay, this is a reply, then the object has been met, or this is the engagement and the object has been met. So between two replies, how would you say that okay, this was a better one? Say for example, if I did some further tuning on this model, so how would I know that now the replies have improved? Like how do I measure that?
One thing is, it's with respect to the test set. There is definitely subjectivity in the test set. We wanted some specified behavior, right? You don't want it to work randomly in production. So basically, testing that part, we needed some concrete examples. But definitely there's subjectivity in has the objective been met?
Under the hood, we are the objective met agent doesn't give a true false. It gives a rating, like how far has the objective been met or not. So as an open source software, the use case can simply tune that metric, right? They can just have a couple of conversations and see if the objective agent is passing all the cases all the time. They can just lower the threshold and see if for that use case do they want more information or not. That is where that subjectivity of the original survey creator can be injected.
Just to be clear, the way that you've designed all the agents is the agents are sending a prompt to the LLM and the LLM is responding, and that is how you're making the determination.
Yes.
So you have not written any code that determines whether the objective has been met. All of that is not being done by code. All of that is completely outsourced to the LLM that you're calling. Right?
Intelligent.
And if you want to rephrase the question or ask another question to reach the objective, even the question formulation is passed on back to the LLM. Right?
Yeah.
So you've glued it all together, basically, right?
Yes.
I hope that answers your question.
Agents part is mostly prompt engineering. We did not build any new model for it.
So
To guide the prompting, they have the tests.
Is there any way you judge the bias or some kind of model, right, when the answer is being given? There are some regional sensitivities or some biases. Then we account for the
yeah, that so many aspects are currently abstracted. So we actually started out by using Phi2, and our motivation was to have the solution work on the smallest model so that it works on all of them, right? So these capabilities like sensitivity and all of those, if you interact with the Gemini API, right, it handles all of those. They have those enums and all of those values where you want to control that sort of a behavior, and those are something which you can control on the LLM side of things, and for future we can definitely add those as a future enhancements.
All right. Okay, we'll quickly wrap up.
Yeah, just you wanted to answer this?
On the inference optimization section of the slide, both the quantization and the use of VLLM, all of that, was there any fresh code you all contributed there or just used the standard?
Just used it and figured out what we have to use.
Thank you.
Anything which is like a future scope for you or something that you are not been able to do but you wanted to expand on?
Yeah, one part was that right now plan is provided by the survey creator, right? Like the questions, what objective should be met. We want to automate that part as well. Like maybe quality check by a survey creator, but automating that part. Yeah.
Yeah, and in the entire flow of things, right, there are certain things which you can add on and can give good value. Like if you have a bunch of conversations, how do you extract particular highlights from them? That's not that difficult of a task. We can just do topic modeling and summarization there, and serving that through UX could be another add-on which could be easy to implement. Thank you, Arvind.
What was the question? Just 1 second. There's one question from the online jury as well. I'll quickly pick it up.
Yeah, can I go ahead?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'll relay.
yeah, so I had a question, and this was on what do you do with the responses? So, normally the point of taking a survey is that you want to take the response data and you want to analyze that. So what have you thought about that? That is one. And two is that you have multiple people asking questions to the bot on the survey. Yeah. And how do you do aggregate analysis of all of these? So normally when we send out a normal survey, the same question is asked to multiple people and we get similar responses. So it's possible to analyze and get some macro level understanding of the problem based on the survey. So here, how is this going to
Got
be
it.
handled? Yeah.
All right, so quick things. Juries, please send the question on WhatsApp group. Okay, the two questions for you guys. One, so when you get the survey, right, you get a answer. Now, usually you need to collate that into groups, right, in order to say they are of this particular kind of opinion. So, first question is how do you group this? And the second question is typically across audiences, you group the answer as well, right? Meaning all these users have this kind of an opinion, for example. How do you do that? Because in your case, both the outputs, meaning in terms of, the input, which input they are in, which category are they in their answer. That is also is not contextual, meaning it is just a sentence, right, at the end of the day. Secondly, in terms of groups of users also, that's not context, right? So how do you handle both of those is a question.
So on the base, so there were two segments which I saw in the question. First was segmenting on user user affinities. Second was segmenting on topics, right? So segmenting on topics, while we are working on the understanding under the hood, we are just doing that at a question level at the moment, and um, in a process of collecting information across all the users, that is not something which is implemented currently, but a simple technique like topic modeling could be used to extract major topics in all the conversations, and we can map those topics to the conversations and see what were the insights from a particular conversation, right?
Thanks, guys. Good luck.